So we're going to talk about the importance and why I think it's so significant for people to be training for time instead of training for the sake of repetitions. Now, I've made videos about this in the past, primarily so on my TikTok account, which I encourage you guys to follow. It's Lionstrong Fitness Global. Um, but I basically talked about how I just think that there's a lot of things that are gained when you do time training um, versus doing the traditional, I'm just going to count my reps. Now, obviously, for obvious reasons, it works this way because of a number of things. You're increasing the time under tension. In other words, you're increasing the strain and the stress putting on the muscle, which will further stimulate it. You're getting your heart rate up because of the set and how long it's going on, as opposed to doing 10 reps, which will take you less than 30 seconds. So even though the effort can be maximal, I think that a lot of the strength and muscle gains actually happen as you continue to go up in repetition. Okay. And also, you're stimulating your metabolism. Whenever you have to take your body to a state where it's uncomfortable, that's when the body responds metabolically. So there's all those tangible benefits that come from training from time. It's more difficult, it's more challenging, and your workouts take less time because you're reaching that point of exhaustion sooner. And I think that's a big proponent of why I'm such a big fan of doing shorter duration training. And it's more applicable in regular life. Not everybody has an hour, 2 hours to spend at the gym. We don't have all that time. If you're busy or somebody that's moving and shaking the way that you should, you're gonna find that squeezing in an hour or 2 hours can be tough. Now people could say, "Oh well, if it matters, you'll fit it in." Guys, I don't think it's that. I just think that in reality, when you're doing stuff and you're trying to get things done, if I can, and I'm sure most of us would agree, if I can get the result I want in less time, and get a better outcome, I'm gonna go that route. That's just common sense. Okay, especially for somebody who values their time. But I want to talk about how mentally, how doing time training really changes you. It really allows you to become that athlete, and I think that's what separates the average person as far as the potential that they can reach versus the guy who's an athlete. Now, people are going to probably ask, well, the athlete's just physically gifted and has all these natural gifts that I don't have. Now, in some cases that may be true, but I'm just speaking on behalf of somebody who was one, and what I've witnessed and had the pleasure of competing against. The best workouts I've done in my life is when I played sports. And the reason why is because we cared less about how many we did. We cared less about how we looked, or at least the look that we were going to achieve from doing said training. Now, mind you, when I say that, I'm not saying that that's not important. You should never dismiss that. All I'm trying to say is that those things were just byproducts of the one thing that we're building, and that's mental strength, mental toughness. See, the athlete, when he's doing a set, he or she's going, and they're going the hardest they can, but they're doing it to try to beat the next person. So it doesn't matter if that person did 10 reps, 30 reps, 100 reps. The way that they are wired, or people like athletes are wired, is to be competitive. And I just think that if you take that same approach and you apply it to your own training, you can achieve so much as well. But I think a great way to practice that type of competitive nature is by doing the time training. Because guys, anyone who's done lunges, squats, or any type of compound movement, or any movement for that matter, past 60 seconds, man, that's a different level of burn. You're going to feel something that you never felt before, and it's truly humbling. Just imagine if you're doing 20-pound curls, you're doing 20-pound bicep curls, but post 60 seconds, man, that feels like 1,000 pounds. And the reason why is because you're building up all that lactate, all that fatigue, but you're teaching yourself how to push through it. That's the key, guys. That's the key. You want to kind of treat every workout, and I think this makes it fun as well. Treat every workout like you're going into battle, like you're going in, for war. And I say that to say that all the mental preparation that goes in, you trying to really outdo yourself. And I think that when you get to a point where you consistently do that, you make training more interesting, because you're not just going in, just doing your 30 minutes on the treadmill, you're doing your hour of bogus weight training or whatever. No, you're going there with a purpose, right? And I think the best way to have that purpose is to train yourself in a system that teaches you how to have that type of mentality, guys. Everything's all about mindset. You just want to put yourself in a position to where, you're essentially competing against yourself. So if you did, let's just say, we did a set of lunges, let's say, right? I always say lunges because I just love training legs. It's such an important muscle group. We're doing lunges, and let's just say, you're trying to do 2 minutes of lunges, and the most you're able to get is like 30 reps or 40 reps. Now, the goal is to try to go above and beyond that. People always say, oh, you don't need to be exceeding this amount of reps. What they don't realize is the body doesn't understand reps. All it knows is this is stressful, right? So when you're putting yourself in these positions, you're challenging yourself physically, but you're also gaining strength mentally, to where you'll get to the point where you do stuff like this so much that anything less than is not normal to you anymore, because you've hit a new standard. And that's how you know that you're really elite, and you're really really doing things. And guys, also too, I'm just not a fan of doing what everyone else does. I've never been a fan of that. I've always wanted to go against the grain and do something that's different. That's why in my training systems, guys, which by the way you can find on my website at lionstrongfitness.net/fusion. The link will be in the description. But in my programs, guys, I just think that once you can make training interesting, when you can make training unique, different, unorthodox, even though it's challenging, it makes it addictive. I've done so many different things, and I just wanted to put together something to where a training style to where it's not anything we haven't seen before, but it's unusual as far as how things are put together. And I know that because, guys, I work with so many people who, until they've met me, they thought they knew what training was. And what I mean by that is you're taking stuff like bodybuilding, you're taking like some like CrossFit stuff as far as like the intensity and the short rest periods. You're taking powerlifting, which I've done, So you're basically combining functional training with all these other things, and you're becoming like this hybrid athlete, And I think that you should not only train like one, but through training like one, you mentally become one. And I think that's the secret, guys. I think that's the key. And I think when it comes to doing time-based training, you can't get that nowhere else, in my opinion, because anybody can do 5 reps, 10 reps. Anybody can say, oh, well, I can bench this much weight 3 times. But can you take that and do it for 2-3 minutes? That's what makes you a savage. And not just that, I just think that you get a lot more real world benefit from doing longer duration, not just from the physique. And guys, I would say that I'm a pretty, respectable as far as my appearance. I employ these tactics. I'm a big believer in them. They work. And I just think that once you can apply this type of training style where you're focused more on, trying to embrace that difficulty as far as increasing the time in the set versus just focusing on how many I can do, because I always tell people all the time, you can move weight or you can build muscle, but you can't do both. So, you can really focus on trying to sculpt your body, focusing on just getting a good squeeze, a great contraction, which I think time training does that. Or you can just be about your ego and just say, well, I can bench 400 pounds or however many pounds, but you don't have a chest that says you can. Or when someone says that, oh, well, I do whatever leg routine, but you have underdeveloped glutes, your hamstrings are not there, you don't have that posterior chain, you don't have that symmetrical look. Guys, you want to be the athlete but look like the athlete. And why not have both? You can get both, guys. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to make that video because I do think that this is a very important concept that a lot of people miss out on. They think it's bogus. They think, oh, well, it doesn't work. Guys, I'm telling you, I can bet my life on this that it works. Okay, my life. I train thousands of people, and I can't tell you how many naysayers I have. And I find it funny that the people who naysay have never done it, won't do it. So it's almost as if they get a kick out of just saying nonsense. Guys, do yourself a favor and give yourself the best. Try it out. Don't believe me? You can let me know in the comments, but I doubt you'll be disappointed. Anyway, guys, this video is why I believe that time set training is better than doing the traditional repetitions counting. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. I'm interested to hear your opinions and your experiences, and if you decide to try it, how it worked for you. And also, guys, once again, head to my website, grab one of those programs. Link is in the description. They're amazing. And with that said, guys, we're signing out. OBO, Lionstrong CEO. Have a great day, guys. Take care.